Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. As you know, I'm always looking for people on the cutting edge, doing innovative things, changing the world, breaking the mold. So today I have James Lewis. He goes by Jimmy, and he is a founder, disruptor, entrepreneur, startup expert, and we're going to hear more about his background, his life story, and we're going to talk about disruption, entrepreneur. Jimmy, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look forward to the chance to get to know you, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had connected through Podmatch, and what's interesting is in your bio you have education. Looks like you're an athlete. So tell people how you got started and your story.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the chance to share. I don't know if my story's interesting and unique or not. I think everyone's got their own spin on uniqueness, their own kind of life story. I'll kind of start from the top. So my family, both mother and father were in the military, had the chance to live all over the country, from Texas to Georgia to Seattle to Alabama. But I always grew up what I'd say is like a lifelong learner and an athlete. And I really enjoy learning new sports. So played multiple sports in high school, multiple sports in college. But on the same token, I kind of was lucky enough to always understand that there's going to have to be somewhat of life after sports, especially at the competitive level. But it doesn't mean there has to be life after athleticism. To me, that's core to who I am, something that I really enjoy doing. So I went to college, played college football, had the chance to play basketball in college as well. It was a great opportunity. Happened to be a little bit better at football than basketball, so I had a short stint in the NFL as well. But I really did focus on my education in college. So I finished up my 5 years. Here you've got this thing called a red shirt. So your first year, you can essentially opt out of playing and you'll be on a 5-year scholarship. So I did finish up my 5 years in school with a graduate degree and then 2 master's degrees as well, an MBA and then a master's in finance. After my short stint with the Tennessee Titans, I went up to Wall Street and began working up there. My goal is to spend a couple of years up there and gain as much experience as possible, understand the market, understand what it's like to really work hard and grind, outside of sports. And was lucky enough to stumble on an opportunity in Tampa, Florida for a startup in healthcare. And we launched essentially a nationwide network of spine surgery centers. We had a pretty interesting spin on it, though. We created a direct consumer marketing model. It was all cash pay. So we kind of buck the typical healthcare trends from that perspective. And we were actually the first company in all of healthcare to market direct consumer through Google AdWords back in 2005 and 2006. And so we had a really fun venture doing that, and I've subsequently had the chance to go on and start a couple other companies that I'd be happy to talk about. And then in between company 1 and company 2, I actually continued my sports career and made a run at the U.S. Olympic team in rowing. So I moved out to California, spent time at the Olympic Training Center for about a year and a half, and kind of prime myself to get ready for the 2006. That's kind of in a nutshell, a little bit of like the Reader's Digest version of my life story. But I'm also happily married and we have an 11-year-old daughter. And so as you can imagine, that keeps me busy and very fulfilled as well.
Yeah. Interesting. So I talked to a lot of guests on the show, and usually they're either athletes, they're military, executives, entrepreneurs, investors, people that have to perform and produce at the highest levels. So tell us, really interesting. So going from athlete to entrepreneur, is it a hard transition, easy? What mindset shifts do you have to do? Tell us more.
Sure. Being a professional athlete and being an entrepreneur, individually is certainly never easy. I don't know what non-athletes felt and or experienced when they went into their entrepreneurial career. I know that being an athlete, understanding discipline, teamwork, camaraderie, leadership, trying to create a collective mission towards something bigger than just yourself, I think all those things are directly translatable into business. Although I had the unique experience to experience sports at a high level and then translate that to business, I know that other entrepreneurs have their own journey, and where they learn discipline and camaraderie and teamwork, unique ways of thinking and really working towards a common cause and a bigger goal. They might have learned that in other aspects of their life as well. So for me, I was fortunate that the avenue was sports, but there's certainly many avenues to successful entrepreneurialism. But those are some of the traits that I learned. And then I also think that a lot of entrepreneurialism is frankly timing and luck, right? I mean, you can work hard and have a great idea, but if the launch is poorly timed and if some things just don't fall in place for you, it can create even more unforeseen challenges and problems. And I think that's oftentimes the difference between successful businesses and unsuccessful businesses, sometimes just a little bit of timing and properly launching into a marketplace at the right time. I'll give you a great example. Our first startup in healthcare, had we started that company today, it would not have been nearly as successful. We were at a time where there was no other real players in the market. Google AdWords was a really small player in the market. It was a brand new concept. And now the market's flooded where almost every single company has to utilize AdWords to some extent to compete. And so the competitive landscape would have been a lot tougher for us. And that's, to me, a really good example of where timing just made sense.
Yeah, timing is everything. So, a couple of questions. What talking about? I know we talk about these, but talk about being a disruptor. What's the number one piece of advice you can offer to emerging entrepreneurs? I'm curious.
Sure. Disruption is interesting because oftentimes it's not intentional. Sometimes it's even overlooked. And I believe in entrepreneurialism or entrepreneurship that it is a lot about being a mission-driven leader towards trying to solve a problem. And so when you have a mission and you're trying to solve a problem, whether it's in healthcare and you believe there's an unmet need with patients, or it's in business and consumer products where you're trying to get something into the hands of somebody else, there is going to be headspace and dollars spent in those areas where it would not have been, where it may have been spent elsewhere. And theoretically, that's what causes that disruption. You're really shifting your consumer's attention from one product to another or one idea to another. So I believe that you should focus on a mission and solving the problem and create the proper, most efficient path to do that. And oftentimes when that is, as lots of people say, a better mousetrap, it causes that form of disruption in the industry.
Yeah, so well said. Another thing you talk about is, especially for athletes, routines are very important. What is some high value routines that you do, your life hacks? And then we'll move into diet, because diet is really interesting, especially from an athlete.
Yeah, sure. And we actually have just launched a company geared towards food prescriptions. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. So from a routine perspective, I think it's often challenging because there's so much great advice and so many different tools out there. You can listen to Joe Rogan podcast, and you can talk about all these different tools, and you can listen to Tim Ferriss, and you can listen to Dave Asprey, and on and on and on. And you can have a list of hundreds of things to do, and you just don't have that time. So you have to figure out what works for you. To me, the best piece of advice that I just give myself, my family, and friends is pick 1 to 3 things that you can do every single day, no matter what. That could be 10 push-ups. It could be write down 1 sentence about yesterday. So for me, my routine is very simple. I have a list of things that I want to accomplish for the entire year. Then I walk backwards. So there's X amount of new articles, research articles read. There's X amount of publications. There's X amount of books I read. And then I've got typically a health goal, a fitness goal, and family goal. And every single one of those is measurable. And I break those down on a daily basis. So like, for example, this year, a very random one, or two random ones. One was to squat 450 pounds again, and the other one was to do 100,000 push-ups this year. So I developed my squat program and went on, two 12-week cycles of these types of squats that we do that kind of helps me lead towards my max day, which is coming up. And then the other one is 100,000 push-ups is roughly 78 push-ups a day. So I make sure to get roughly 2,100 push-ups in per week. And that's just something that just leads me towards my goal. If I'm traveling a lot and I miss those things, it's something that you can make up for. So it's not necessarily about the 100,000 push-ups. It's just about having something that provides you a daily baseline and daily discipline. It could be, read 3 chapters of the Bible every day, right? But as long as it's something that can that can keep you focused and grounded and can be consistent, I think that's a life hack of its own.
Yeah, I love that. And talking to a lot of successful entrepreneurs such as yourself, they always have a morning routine. A lot of them wake up early, and a lot of it's whatever gets you into that state and flow, productivity. The next question is this idea of diet, and all the athletes I talk to, they're always experimenting with new diets. They don't do mainstream advice. And so there's diet, and actually there's something called diet technology, which is really interesting. And talk about, how your approach to diet, fitness, technology, gut health, and we'll go into there.
Sure. So we just launched a company called Ally. It says ALIRX, and it just means food prescription in Latin. And what we do is we actually send you a gut health test kit at home. So there is a small stool sample plus finger prick. The finger prick gives you food sensitivity and food allergy testing of hundreds and hundreds of ingredients. We actually then take the information that your ingredients that you're not supposed to put in your body from that test, and we actually put it into a food prescription. So we have hundreds of thousands of recipes that are generally healthy, and we then take all the ingredients that you should not have, and we eliminate any recipe that has those ingredients in them, and then we provide that prescription directly back to you. It's all done online. You can generate your weekly shopping list. If you want to cook, you can integrate directly with food delivery services. So the idea is now you not just know what you shouldn't put in your body, but you have direct access to the meals that you should put in your body. So we kind of take the guesswork out of it. And the theory around that is that I believe that the large majority of diseases starts with what you put into your body. And it's not just something I believe. There's actually a direct correlation to over 90% of autoimmune diseases with gut health. So if you have poor gut health, the imbalance of bacteria starts to permeate the gut lining, enters your circulatory system. It causes a level of systemic inflammation, and that inflammation makes your body under attack, making you more susceptible to certain autoimmune diseases. And so as that takes place, your body starts to work against itself, not for itself. And so you have to learn what to put back into your body and into your gut to start to reverse that process. And that's been our goal with LARX, is to not just show people what to put into their body, but help them close the loop in terms of knowing exactly how to do it and kind of activate that dietary recommendation.
Interesting. Yeah, there's so much as as you age, you can't really work you can basically, it's all like 90% diet after, age 40 or so, which is really interesting. And I love this idea of inflammation, gut health. It's a relationship between your brain, your gut, and your immune system. It's coming to be a really interesting field. So what's your next venture? How can people contact you, follow you, reach out to you?
Yeah, great. So our next venture is what we've launched. It's just called Ali RX. So ALI. You go on there. You can sign up as a member. I'll be sure to include a code that you can distribute as well if you'd like to, and that'll make sure to give everyone 20% off on their order. But that food prescription business is something that's really near and dear to me. I think it can be a key to helping people unlock the reason why they may have some issues with their own health, whether it's dietary, they're lethargic, they're not sleeping well, or perhaps they have something that's maybe even a little bit more serious, like early onset autoimmune diseases. We believe that we can be very helpful for people from that perspective. And you can find me on LinkedIn. Just type in Jimmy St. Louis and search for me on LinkedIn. You can also contact me directly at Jimmy@Ali as well.
Yeah, interesting. And let's thank Jimmy for coming onto the podcast. Like I said, I'm always interested in talking to people on the cutting edge. And with that, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Great. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the time.